Quazi here. Have you ever noticed how just when you're about to give up and call it quits, that's when everything that you've ever wanted literally shows up? Well, there's a reason why this happens, but the issue is you're never able to control when or how it truly happens, because the moment you try to force giving up or letting go, it's as though the magical force knows that you're not truly letting go, you're just trying to trick it into giving you what you want. Well, in today's video, I want to share with you how to actually let go and what happens when you learn to fully and properly surrender. So let's get started. Okay, so what I'm about to share with you right now is going to be the thing that's going to change everything for you once you fully understand it. The reason why that is because everyone knows how to put in effort, right? Everyone knows how to take action. Everyone knows how to move with intention. The issue is, while everyone knows how to win, anyone can take a winning trade, anyone can get lucky once. It's the moments where you're not getting lucky. It's the moments where you're losing. It's the moments you're in drawdown in your trading or in your life. You're going through a negative, tough time. How you deal with those moments is what determines whether or not you're going to be successful. So this is where the surrender frequency comes in. One of the greatest books I've read this year was a book by Michael Singer called The Surrender Experiment, in which he goes through an experiment where he just completely surrenders. It's a completely new and foreign way of living to him because he used to be very, very left brain, very logical, always needing things to go his way. But when he stepped into the surrender frequency, everything literally fell into place. He went from living in a hut in Florida to like creating a multi-million-dollar business, to getting sued in that business, to getting out of that terrible lawsuit and coming out of it without, any kind of a bad, punitive, any kind of, whatever the word is. Like, he didn't lose anything. He didn't go through any kind of hardship. He was able to come out of it successfully, right? So the reason why he was able to do all of those things is because he was able to stay in that frequency. A lot of the times we can get into a frequency, but we can't stay in it, okay? So there's two main things we're going to talk about today that's going to change everything for you. Number one is learning how to access pure intention. So I want you to think about something. When you brush your teeth, when you do normal chores, you're a very successful person at those, right? Like, you wake up, take a shower, maybe brush your teeth, maybe you make your breakfast, and then maybe later on in the day you wash the dishes, you do the chores, you do your laundry, whatever it is, right? You're doing these tasks that don't require a lot of energy. They're very menial, okay? When you're doing those tasks, you do them very, very successfully. Therefore, you're very successful at conducting those tasks. What if achieving your goals were kind of like that? What if you making $20,000 a month, or you becoming a successful and profitable trader, became as emotionless, as dispassionate as you executing on those tasks, right? It's just another thing you do. If you look at some of the most successful traders, some of the successful business owners, they all have this. They all execute dispassionately. When they're doing the work, they just focus on doing the work. Even the most successful athletes, right? They just put one foot in front of the other and dispassionately carry out the tasks. There's no judgment. There's no trying to manipulate it. There's no romance in it. It's not so like up and down dopamine spiking. They just put one foot in front of the other and dispassionately conduct those tasks. So when you're dispassionately doing things, and by the way, this flies in the face of conventional wisdom, right? Because conventional wisdom will tell you, take inspired action. You feel super inspired and then you take action, right? Like, you're not fucking feeling inspired when you're washing your dishes. You're just doing it. It needs to get done, so you put one foot in front of the other and you just do it, right? It's dispassionate. So what I've noticed after having worked with over 2,000 clients is the most successful clients of ours who become successful, they treat their craft as the craft and they just show up and execute on it. There is no dopamine spikes that they're getting from it, no rush they're getting from it, no highs they're getting from it, right? They're just doing it in a boring manner. In my last video, I talked about this. The highest form of any craft is just executing it in a boring way, right? You don't feel highs, you don't feel lows, you're just doing it. It's kind of like walking, right? It's kind of like driving your car. It's kind of like washing the dishes, right? So this is where transmutation of desire comes in. We have a desire, we become romantic about the outcome. Desire is focus on the outcome, right? What we want to do, if you want to be successful at anything, is you want to transform this desire into intention. What does that mean? Desire is focus on the outcome. Intention is focus on the process. Okay? So this morning, this is a video for another day, but guys, by the way, I manifested a lifelong dream of mine. I bought my first ever Ferrari. I'll probably put a picture up here. I don't know if my editor's going to put it in. But I was at the dealership picking up the Ferrari, and a friend of a friend, this guy, Jade Cap, he's like a very successful trader, Kyle. He took like a $2.9 million payout earlier this year, right? You could check out his channel. He has an amazing channel. He's an amazing dude. I met him for the first time this morning. And, you know, we were having this conversation and we were talking about what it takes to be successful at trading or in any craft, right? And what I noticed was he was saying, yeah, dude, I was suggesting a hypothesis that, hey, you become truly successful when you become process oriented, right? When you tap into pure intention and you just treat it like a task. That's how you manifest it, right? Like a menial, normal task. And he's like, you know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. When I was trading and grinding away, I was just focusing on improving my skill, right? I was just focused on improving my skill and becoming a better trader. And then one day, I just lifted my head up and looked around me and I was like, holy crap, I have a $2.9 million payout waiting for me. And then he just took that payout. He literally had $2.9 million deposited into his account in just one day, which was bizarre. So I found that completely insane, but it's a testament to what it takes to be successful. A lot of you guys believe, have all of these misconceptions because, you listen to some guru out there saying, oh, it has to be inspired. You have to feel inspired to do it. Inspiration comes before. That's the desire, right? You feel inspired, you want to go out and chase your dreams, but when you're actually in the act of doing the thing to make your dreams become a material reality, it's dispassionate. It's just putting one foot in front of the other. You have the desire gets transmuted into intent, and you simply say, this is what I have to do now, just put one foot in front of the other, right? Put one foot in front of the other and work towards it. Make it happen. The only difference between you doing a menial, normal chore like washing the dishes and, making a sandwich or getting your mail from the mailbox, the only difference between that and you pursuing your goals and achieving your goals, can you guess what it is? There is a time delay. There's a complexity, right? Because achieving your goals requires multiple steps. It's like making a really complex sandwich. So when you're making a super complicated sandwich, like you starting to learn trading or, starting to learn how to create your own business, or maybe even you growing your business revenue from 20, 30, 40K a month to whatever a K a month you want to make, or however much you want to grow your investing portfolio, you have to acquire certain skills. You have to learn certain lessons, whether this be the internal mindset lessons or the external lessons as well. But the only way you can do that is if you focus on improving at the craft, right? So it's a multi-step process, and what happens in this multi-step process is we fall away from intention and move back into desire. We go into the mode of, oh, why isn't it happening? I'm trying so hard. I keep hitting my head against the wall. I keep, losing money. And so the more you keep looking at losing money, the more you keep focusing on losing money, you're focusing on what? You're focusing on outcome. Where's the profit? Why isn't the profit coming? I keep losing money. You keep moving back into desire. The key is to stay in intention, right? Continually stay in intention. Reframe all of the money you lost as a charge to the game, right? A couple of the discords I'm in where I'm learning about trading, they say, oh, it's just a charge to the game. You have to lose money, you pay it forward. That's your tuition to learn how to be a successful and profitable trader, okay? So one of the main things that you have to learn is this transmutation of desire into intent and learning to put one foot in front of the other in the fulfillment of your desire. So that can't be so emotional and so romantic. It has to be in a certain way, just dispassionate, just you executing. You made the intention, you're making it a reality. You want to make $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month? This is what you have to do. You know what you have to do? You just put one foot in front of the other, get it done. Just get it done. That's it. Just show up. My personal trainer used to tell me, because I'd tell him I was in this mindset too. I'd tell him oh, today I don't feel like working. I was like, just show up. You're not going to have a good day every day. Some days you're going to feel great. Other days you're not. It's what you do on your worst days that defines you, right? That's your lowest standard. That's your worst performing, your core standard. That is the level that you will fall back to. That is what determines your standard of reality, what you do on your worst days, okay? Now, in understanding this, we have to understand what happens when we move into desire, okay? Now, in understanding desire and intention, the next thing we have to understand is what happens when we move into desire. So when we move into desire, we actually create a disturbance in the field of nature because we're creating importance. Okay, so importance. Our goal is to keep importance to a minimum. Now, when you have a goal that's put on a pedestal, when you have an outcome that is super, super important, what are you doing? You're basically saying, this is my God. I worship this. I worship money, or I worship my career, or I worship my trading. This is more important to me than everything else in my life. When you do that, you're immediately creating an imbalance in the field of nature. What does nature want to do? It wants to restore balance. Because your thought energy, kind of like in this instance, it gets too bunched up, too concentrated in one particular sector, one area, one sector of reality. What we want to do is create this homogeneity again. It has to be homogeneous. That's the word, homogeneous. I learned that in chemistry in college or high school. So we want to lower importance. Now, there's two main ways in which importance is lowered. There is the external restoration of importance. External restoration of importance, ERI. So when there is an external restoration of importance, what happens is the universe comes in and stores balance for you. So for example, if you put something on a pedestal and you make it super, super important, like let's say you're trying to become a profitable trader, and all you do is keep looking at your P&L. You keep looking at your P&L, you keep looking at the charts, you're like, why isn't the money coming? Why isn't the money coming? Why am I not profitable? Profits has become your profit, or profits have become your God, right? So you keep looking at the money, and the more you keep looking at it, the more it keeps going down, right? It's almost like the universe or God is trying to spite you. Well, the reason why that happens is when you put something on a pedestal, it has no choice but to look down upon you. And when you create that imbalance in the field of nature, nature takes the path of least resistance to create balance again in the field. And so typically, the path of least resistance involves nature not giving you what you want. And when it doesn't give you what you want, what happens? You give up. You stop thinking about it. You're like, oh, fuck. You know, I just made a loss on that stock or that investment and it's not going to be profitable. I have accepted it. And the moment you accept it, guess what happens? The stock shoots up. You have accepted it, you've cut your losses, you've sold, and the next moment, the stock shoots up. And then you live in regret for the rest of your life, right? So that is the unfortunate reality of what happens. And that's why I always recommend, like, the more you keep focusing on the outcome, the more you will prolong the achievement of your goals and your dreams. Now, there's a different way of restoring balance or restoration of importance. That is the internal RI. Internal restoration of importance. So when you make proactive steps to balance your importance levels, guess what happens? The outcome gets flipped. If you wait for reality to balance importance for you, you don't get what you want. But if you proactively balance your own importance levels, you wake up and you realize what's happening. Oh, I'm getting too gung-ho about my profits, or I'm getting too gung-ho about this sale that I want to make. When you learn to balance your own importance levels, nature no longer needs to intervene. Typically, it ends up in you getting what you want. Why? Because I have gone from desire back to intention. The definition of desire that is devoid of any kind of importance, any kind of neediness, when you can want without needing, you have already exercised intention. I want something without needing it. When you want a sandwich, you want it, but you don't need it. You don't say, I need it or I'm going to die, right? You can have any other food. Like, hey, no sandwiches available? Okay, cool. What can we do instead? Let's just eat a burger, or let's eat pizza, or let's make fried chicken, whatever you like to eat, right? So desire devoid of importance is intention. So when we have an internal restoration of our importance levels, when we consciously balance our importance levels, we access intention again, and the goal gets realized more often than not. Okay? So now the question is, how do we achieve IRI and avoid ERI? Well, there's two main ways of doing this. There's one main way and there's a subway. Okay? Subway. So let's talk about that. The main way of doing this is to cultivate a plan B. What do I mean by that? Now, this isn't the pill that you consume. Plan B, that was such a crass joke. Apologies for anyone offended. Plan B is you find a safety net. So I'll give you an example. If you were walking on a plank that's on the ground, you wouldn't feel any heightened sense of importance. right? You're just walking on a plank. Now, if that plank were up in between two rooftops, very high precipice, and you're walking that plank, all of a sudden your importance level goes up, right? Everything is super important now. You're like, everything is life or death. Don't die. You see the difference? But if you had a safety net under you, you're no longer scared anymore because you know the net will catch you. So to give you a prime example of this, I quit my job to start my business. Okay? I quit my job to start my business. You may be thinking, what was your plan B? I definitely had a plan B. My plan B was I'm at least going to get my college degree because worst case scenario, shit hits the fan, I can always go back to a job. I can always go back. That's fine. But I know that it won't be beneficial for me to stay in a job while I try to build my business because I won't be able to give it the necessary time or even energy that it needs because I know that at the end of my job, end of the workday, I'm going to get exhausted. And I also won't have the right kind of pressure because I also kind of needed to prove to my parents that I can do it, right? So if I had an income coming in, I wouldn't feel that necessary pressure that I needed to perform. So there's that right amount of pressure, right? There is de-stress, distress, and there's eustress, like eulogy, good stress. So there's a good stress and there's a bad stress, right? There's chronic stress and acute stress. Acute stress happens when you're in fight or flight. Chronic stress happens when you're constantly stressed. That's the kind of stress that you don't want. You want the right kind of stress. It drives us, it moves us, okay? So when you create a plan B, you have a safety net that can hold you, okay? You're not afraid of taking the leap, but at the same time, you do have to take the leap and you have to take risks. The key balance here is for you to determine what is the right balance of risk versus not risking so much that I'm going to die. Because you hear a lot of these stories of people burning boats and then they actually do come out on the other side and become successful. Certain people are like that. They need their backs against the wall and that's the only way they will succeed. Other people are not. Other people actually get more stressed out and they don't perform as well. So that is the key that you need to figure out for yourself, which is what is the right amount of risk. Which brings me to the second part, determining the balance. So balance, risk. One thing I tell our trading clients is never risk more money than you're willing to lose, okay? Never risk more money than you're willing to lose. Sounds simple, right? Well, you will know that you're risking more money than you're willing to lose when you actually feel anxious. When you're like, oh man, this is stressing me out. That just means you're risking too much because you want a reward faster. You want a higher reward and you want it faster. So you're trying to chase something. So do not do that. When you're risking money into plays, into stocks and options and futures or whatever you're trading, risk the amount of money that you're willing to lose. This is not financial advice, but that is what I recommend. Where if you lost that, you wouldn't be too unhappy because you risked the appropriate amount. Because guess what? In life, there is no reward without risk. Nothing great ever grows in the comfort zone. Okay? So you need to determine the right level of risk for you. How do you find this? Through trial and error. One thing I recommend to my clients is learn to lean over the edge without falling off. Okay? So the only way you're going to find your limits is if you actually push your limits a little bit. And then you'll know what your limits are. And in the process, you may burn yourself a couple times, but that's okay. You needed to burn yourself to know not to touch that stove. Okay? So thank you for watching this. I hope this was helpful. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this. One video that I really recommend you watching if you haven't is this video that I made on the 4 different frequencies that you have to overcome in order to manifest what you want. Okay, the reason why that is because these 4 frequencies keep you stuck in a pendulum. Okay, it makes your energy susceptible to these energetic structures called pendulums. Most people don't even realize this in their lifetimes. So please click on this video to watch that video right now on the 4 frequencies that you need to overcome, and I'll see you in this next video right now. Thanks.